Have you ever noticed this strange paradox? We've never been more connected and yet never more divided. We hold in our hands the sum total of human knowledge, every discovery, every work of art, every sacred text available at a swipe or a click, and yet somehow confusion reigns. Misinformation spreads faster than light. We can transmit images across continents in milliseconds, but struggle to look one another in the eye. We are a civilization capable of mapping the structure of the observable universe, sequencing the genome, and landing robots on distant planets. Yet, we are still burdened by primitive impulse hatred, fear, revenge-repeating loops that are older than the pyramids. We've built machines that can think, but forgotten how to feel. We've extended lifespans, but lost sight of what we are truly living for. Isn't that strange? Isn't that worth examining? Some say we are evolving, others say we are regressing. But perhaps the real story is this: we are stalling, not because we lack intelligence, not because we lack resources, but because we have forgotten how to use one of our most precious cosmic gifts, awareness. And that awareness, our capacity to observe, to reflect, to choose a higher path, is slipping through our fingers, just like fine sand under the pressure of a closed fist. You see, the universe is not asking us to be perfect. It's asking us to grow, not to cling to the past, but to rise, to reach, to awaken. But like a spacecraft that misses its launch window, a delayed decision can cost us everything, not in fuel, but in trajectory. And in this moment, humanity stands on a launch pad. Now, let's think cosmically for a moment. Earth is just a pale blue dot suspended in a sunbeam, as Carl Sagan once said. A fragile orb protected by nothing more than a thin atmosphere, the width of a postage stamp on a classroom globe. All life, all conflict, all genius, all sorrow, it all unfolds in that slender layer between the crust and the sky. And yet, despite knowing how rare life is, how improbable consciousness is, we continue to poison the very system that sustains us. We know about climate change. We know about ecological collapse. We understand the data. It's not a mystery anymore. So why do we hesitate? Why do we, who can split atoms, measure gravitational waves, and simulate the birth of star struggle with the simplest of cosmic truths, that everything is connected, that actions ripple, that life is precious, that we are stewards, not owners? Could it be that we are still acting like passengers when the cosmos has been waiting for us to become pilots? Could it be that the shift everyone talks about, this evolution in consciousness, in compassion, in responsibility, was never going to be handed to us? Because shifts in physics and in life require force, intent, direction. The universe doesn't reward complacency. It rewards curiosity, courage, clarity. But those are muscles we must exercise, and not just in laboratories and classrooms, but in living rooms and boardrooms, in every small daily choice that says, I am awake, I am aware, and I am here to shape, not merely survive. We've heard spiritual traditions speak of karma. We've heard scientists speak of cause and effect, different languages perhaps, but both are pointing to a deeper law of the universe. What you do echoes through time, through space, through others. And here's where it gets interesting. Just as a black hole warps the very fabric of space-time, our choices individually and collectively warp the fabric of civilization. And right now, the gravitational pull of ignorance, fear, and inertia is threatening to collapse that fabric in on itself, unless we choose a different trajectory. The good news? In physics, a slight change in angle can lead to a radically different destination. A few degrees off here on Earth can mean missing a planet by millions of miles. In the same way, a shift in human consciousness, a few degrees more compassion, more responsibility, more clarity, can alter the entire fate of our species. But here's the problem. We are distracted by the trivial, drenched in noise. We scroll endlessly while our planet burns. We argue over pixels while forgetting the stars. We are so busy reacting, we've forgotten how to reflect. We've outsourced our curiosity to algorithms and our values to celebrities. And in doing so, we've allowed our most precious resource or attention to be hijacked. But make no mistake, your attention is energy. Your awareness is power. And the cosmos is watching what we do with it. Because evolution is not automatic. It's not guaranteed. Dinosaurs ruled the earth for 160 million years, and they are gone. Not because they were evil, not because they were stupid, but because the environment changed and they didn't adapt. Are we adapting? Are we willing to evolve, and not just biologically, but consciously? That is the true test of our time. And now, the opportunity to shift is slipping through our fingers. Not because it's being taken from us, but because we are hesitating to take it. And in the cosmos, hesitation has consequences. So where do we begin? We begin not out there, but in here within the theater of the human mind. Because the most powerful telescope in the world cannot peer into the inner universe of a human being. And yet, that is where the next great discovery must occur. Not in the vacuum of deep space, but in the cluttered silence of our own awareness. We have mastered the art of seeing galaxies light years away. But have we truly seen ourselves? Have we dared to ask, what drives me? What am I afraid of? What am I here to become? These are not questions science can answer in a lab. These are the questions that determine the fate of civilization. The truth is, we are all made of star stuff, as Sagan once reminded us. But just because we are born of the stars doesn't mean we act like it. Our atoms were forged in the heart of supernovae, yet our behavior often mirrors that of frightened animals, territorial, reactive, short-sighted. Evolution gave us a neocortex. But consciousness? That is something we must cultivate. And right now, our planet is not suffering from a lack of resources, it's suffering from a lack of perspective, a lack of responsibility, a lack of reverence for the improbable miracle that life itself is. So many are waiting for a sign, waiting for proof, waiting for permission to change. But what if the shift we're hoping for isn't some thunderous event from the sky, but a quiet decision in the heart? A choice to be kind when no one's watching, to forgive when it's easier to blame, to act with purpose when apathy feels more convenient. These are the cosmic levers of real change. Not hashtags, not slogans, not movements born in trending cycles, but deep, consistent, personal revolutions of thought. Now, let's borrow an idea from physics. Entropy, the natural tendency of systems to move toward disorder. If left unattended, everything decays. This is true for galaxies, true for ecosystems, and true for societies. But there's a counterforce, something rare, something precious. It's called negentropy, the force that builds, that organizes, that resists the fall into chaos. Life itself is negentropy. Intelligence is negentropy. Conscious compassion? That might be the highest form of it. Every time you choose to act with awareness, you resist the entropy of unconscious existence. You become a local reversal of chaos. This is not abstract. This is not idealism. This is physics applied to the soul. Every thought you think has energy. Every word you speak, a waveform. Every choice you make sends ripples into the collective human field. You are not an island. You are a frequency, a vibration. And just as gravitational waves ripple out from colliding black holes, your consciousness creates waves in the social and spiritual fabric of Earth. The question is, what are you broadcasting? And this brings us to perhaps the most critical point. Karma is not magic, it's momentum. It's the natural consequence of cause and effect across timelines of experience. Dolores Cannon described karma not as punishment, but as a Teixeira loop that continues until the lesson is learned. Think of it like orbit. You keep circling the same planet until enough velocity is generated for escape. Forgiveness, then, is escape velocity. Release enough emotional mass, and you break free from the orbit of pain, not by denying it, but by understanding it, transforming it, transcending it. This is not poetry. This is physics of the psyche. When you forgive, you alter your energetic mass. You lighten your gravitational field. And suddenly, your trajectory changes. No longer pulled toward repeating past patterns, you enter a new vector, a new future, untethered, And here's the cosmic twist. As you change your orbit, you also change the orbits of those around you. Because gravity is mutual, consciousness is entangled, you are more influential than you think. And that brings us full circle. The opportunity to shift is not waiting in the stars, it's waiting in your next thought, your next word, your next act of courage. The Earth is not asking us to save her. She's asking us to awaken, because in the great story of the cosmos, intelligence is rare but awareness. Awareness is revolutionary. Let's pause and consider something. We often overlook the simple fact that attention is the most valuable currency in the modern world. Not dollars, not data. Attention. Where you place it determines what you value. What you value shapes your behavior, and your behavior becomes your destiny. We live in a time when billions are spent not to expand your mind, but to distract it. To scatter your thoughts across endless scrolls, rapid-fire headlines, and emotionally charged clickbait. Attention is a limited resource, and we are being taught to waste it. But what if reclaiming your attention is the first step toward reclaiming your future? The universe expands. That's what it does. But it doesn't expand into chaos. It expands into complexity, into structure, into possibility. And so should we. The expansion of consciousness is not just a spiritual metaphor, it's a literal parallel to what we observe in space-time. Galaxies spread, stars are born, systems evolve, and yet here we are, on a planet spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting a star at 67.0 miles per hour, inside a galaxy, moving through the universe at over 1 million miles per hour, and we worry about whether our opinion gets enough likes. Perspective, you see, is the antidote to ego. And ego, left unchecked, is the root of stagnation. Ego tells us we are separate. Perspective reveals we are one. Ego says, protect yourself. Perspective says, serve others. Ego clings. Perspective releases. The most brilliant minds across history, from Einstein to Buddha, understood this simple truth. The expansion of awareness leads to the evolution of civilization. Not wealth, not power, but awareness. And this awareness must begin with one fundamental act: observation without judgment. Just as astronomers look into the cosmos, not to condemn the darkness, but to understand the light within it, we too must look inward with scientific humility. What patterns keep repeating in your life? What emotions govern your decisions? What fears shape your worldview? These are not questions of morality, these are questions of mechanics. Because every action has a cause, and every cause has a root. Until you trace it, you're just reacting, not creating. Now let's get honest, there's a reason why the old world keeps repeating itself. It's not because we don't know better, it's because we haven't learned to apply what we know. We build faster machines but take no time to reflect. We teach math, but not meaning. We celebrate ambition, but not intention. We are producing generations who can code reality but cannot decode themselves. And that is the real crisis. Not artificial intelligence, but artificial living. Going through the motions, reacting to algorithms, mistaking dopamine for purpose. But here's the opportunity. Just as stars undergo fusion to become brighter, so too can pressure in our lives ignite transformation. Every pain is potential. Every conflict is contrast. Every breakdown is a blueprint for evolution. The question is, do you see it, or are you too busy numbing it? Growth, both cosmic and human, comes from resisting the pull of gravity long enough to find a higher orbit. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it takes effort. But that's the point. Easy paths don't change civilizations. They don't bend timelines. We are at a moment now, not just historically, but cosmically, where consciousness is the new frontier. Not Mars, not the metaverse, consciousness. How we think, why we choose, what we believe about ourselves and one another. This is the terrain that will determine whether we build a thriving planet or a divided one, whether we unlock peace or perpetuate conflict, whether we rise as a species or collapse under the weight of our own unexamined minds. Because the future isn't written in the stars. It's written in our awareness. And awareness, unlike matter, is not bound by space or time. It can leap generations. It can heal the past. It can shape the quantum possibilities of the present, but only if we use it. only if we choose to awaken from the mechanical trance of modern life and reclaim the power of being conscious creators. So the question remains, will we shift or will we stall? The stars are not judging us, they are simply waiting to see if this small, beautiful, fragile species on a pale blue dot will remember its place in the great unfolding of the universe, not as rulers, not as victims, but as stewards of the most rare phenomenon in the cosmos, intelligent life that knows it is alive. Let's bring it back down to Earth, literally. Because this shift we speak of, it's not just philosophical or theoretical, it's ecological, it's neurological, it's deeply practical. Our oceans are warming, our forests are disappearing, our atmosphere, the only breathable sky we have, is being altered molecule by molecule, and yet the biggest change we need to make has nothing to do with emissions. It has to do with attention. Where are we looking? What are we choosing to care about? Because you cannot solve a problem you refuse to look at directly. The Earth is not angry. She is not vengeful. She is responding any system would to imbalance. You see, nature has always had feedback loops. Push too far, and it pushes back. This isn't spiritual punishment, it's thermodynamics. It's ecology. It's physics in motion. And if we can understand black holes and quantum entanglement, surely we can understand that cutting down rainforests at unsustainable rates will destabilize the systems that keep us alive. But knowledge alone does not create change. Awareness followed by courageous action does. So what will it take? A meteor? Another global shutdown? Or will it take something even more rare? A global awakening that begins not in panic, but in clarity, not in fear, but in choice. Because while we wait for signs in the sky, the real signs are already here in data, in drought, in displacement, in the quiet grief of children who inherit a world shaped by short-term thinking. And yet, even now, there is room for hope, because the laws of the cosmos have always left space for course correction. Think of evolution as a feedback system. Every misstep offers an adjustment. Every crisis, a recalibration. But only if we listen. Only if we stop distracting ourselves long enough to hear the signal beneath the noise. And that signal is telling us something very simple. We are out of alignment, not just with nature, not just with each other, but with our own potential. Potential is not a guarantee. It is a challenge, a responsibility. We are not entitled to progress. We must choose it. And that choice begins with remembering that the most advanced technology we will ever possess is not the smartphone or the super collider, it is the mind. The human mind, aware of itself, capable of compassion, of innovation, of reflection, a neural network more complex than any digital system we've ever built, capable of imagining futures, healing trauma, and breaking cycles of destruction, but only if we use it. And here is where science meets the soul. The ancient mystic said, "As within, so without." Modern science now echoes the same. Your internal state affects your biology, your behavior, your relationships, and, on a long enough timeline, the shape of entire cultures. Neuroscience confirms what philosophy has always known. You are the author of your mental patterns. You can rewire, you can release, you can evolve. So ask yourself, what mental loops are you running? What narratives are guiding your decisions? Are you reacting or creating? Are you repeating history or rewriting it? This is where the shift begins, not with a revolution of government, but a revolution of thought. A quantum leap in how we see ourselves not as passive observers of the universe, but as participatory nodes in a vast, living, conscious system. The great myth of our age is that we are separate from each other, from nature, from the cosmos, but physics has disproven that. Entanglement, emergence, field theory, they all tell us the same thing. There is no true isolation. Every particle is part of a larger pattern. Every mind is part of a collective field. Every breath you take is a remix of ancient molecules once breathed by dinosaurs, by prophets, by astronauts. You are not separate. You never were. And yet, this truth is not just to be admired, it is to be acted upon. Because if we are all part of one system, then every act of kindness strengthens the whole. Every act of violence damages the web. Every time you choose empathy over judgment, courage over fear, truth over convenience. You tilt the field of human possibility in a new direction. That is not an exaggeration. That is physics. That is systems theory. That is how evolution works. Small changes, sustained over time, create tectonic shifts, not in myth, but in measurable reality. This is why the opportunity to shift is so urgent, because time is not waiting for us. And evolution does not guarantee survivor's sit, only honors those who adapt with awareness. So let's make it personal, because the cosmos may be grand, but your daily life is where the universe meets its point of expression. The shift we speak of, it doesn't begin on a mountaintop, in a protest, or in a rocket launch. It begins in the quiet seconds between stimulus and response. In the moment you decide not to react with anger, in the breath you take before you send that message, in the choice to listen instead of speak. You see, change is not one big leap. It's a series of micro adjustments made by conscious beings who understand that everything ripples. The laws of physics don't just apply to distant galaxies, they apply to human behavior. Inertia tells us objects in motion stay in motion unless acted upon by force. And that's true of your habits too, your routines, your reactions. Unless you apply conscious force reflection, intention, discipline, your life will simply follow the trajectory of your past. But apply that force, even gently, and the whole arc can change. You can break the orbit. So what is the fuel for this conscious propulsion? Not motivation, that fades, not inspiration, that flickers. The real fuel is responsibility, not the heavy, guilt-laden kind, but the cosmic kind, the kind that says, I exist, I am aware. Therefore, I am accountable for what I create with my energy. That is power, that is dignity, that is the beginning of freedom. Because in the end, this isn't about saving the world. The world isn't something outside of you, it's inside you. It moves through your decisions, your attention, your vibration. The ecosystems we fear collapsing are not separate from the emotional systems we've neglected. Burnout in the individual mirrors, burnout in the biosphere. Anxiety in the culture reflects anxiety in the Earth's rhythm. We are entangled, biologically, neurologically, energetically. So healing the world begins with coherence in the self. Forgiveness isn't a moral obligation, it's energetic liberation. Letting go of resentment isn't weakness, it's quantum recalibration. Releasing fear doesn't mean denial, it means realignment with what is true beyond illusion. These aren't just spiritual ideals, they are tools for upgrading your resonance. Because if you want to vibrate with the frequency of the new earth, you cannot carry the static of the old world. That's not punishment, that's resonance. Just like a tuning fork will not vibrate when struck against a dissonant object, you cannot harmonize with higher states of reality while echoing the frequencies of fear, guilt, and judgment. And that's the hidden beauty of evolution. It invites you to rise, not through competition, but through coherence. It doesn't demand perfection, it invites resonance. So you want to be a part of the shift? Start with your attention. Where does it go? When you're tired, when you're afraid, when no one's watching, you want to raise the vibration? Start with your words. Do they heal or do they harm? Do they create new possibility or reinforce old limitation? You want to be ready for the next earth? Then make your body a temple of integrity. Make your mind a lighthouse of clarity. Make your presence an offering, not a transaction. None of this requires money. None of this requires followers. All of this requires one thing, the willingness to awaken. And that willingness is the rarest force in the known universe. Because most will wait for proof, for permission, for consensus, but the universe doesn't reward waiting, it rewards participation. Alignment is not a passive process. It is a decision made moment by those who are ready to be creators, not consumers. So don't ask if the world is ready, ask if you are ready. Don't wait for a better time. There is no better time. Time is a construct. Consciousness is the constant. And every second you choose awareness over autopilot, presence over distraction, love over fear, you bend the trajectory of your life towards something extraordinary. You don't need to escape the matrix. You need to outgrow it. Rise beyond its limitations. redefine what is possible, not by fighting it, but by becoming something it cannot contain, awake. So here we are, standing at the edge of a threshold, not just as individuals, but as a species. A moment in time where the universe has handed us the mirror and asked, what will you become? A moment where we can no longer afford the luxury of indifference. A moment where silence is complicity and hesitation is regression. The trajectory of Earth is not a script already written. It's a vector shaped by the collective choices of billions of minds like yours. You don't need to change the whole world. Just change your orbit. Because when enough orbits shift, gravity moves. Culture bends, history turns, and consciousness evolves. Do not wait for another disaster to wake you up. Do not wait for society to validate your awakening. Do not wait for permission to live with clarity, courage, and compassion. The universe is already conspiring with you. It's encoded in the very atoms of your being. It's humming in the frequencies of your thoughts. It's waiting not with judgment, but with infinite invitation. Because this cosmos, vast and ancient and wondrous, does not need more perfection. It needs more participation. We are not powerless. We are not victims of fate. We are not random accidents flung across space. We are the consciousness that the universe evolved to see itself. We are the eyes through which the stars reflect. We are the awareness through which Earth dreams. And the moment we remember that, the moment we live from that truth, the shift is no longer a concept. It is a reality. A reality unfolding through you, through me, through us. So take one deep breath. Feel the stardust in your lungs. Feel the gravity of this moment, not as weight, but as invitation. The opportunity to shift is not slipping because the universe is cruel. It's slipping because we forget how powerful we are. But now you remember, and when enough of us remember, not just in theory, but in action, we rise. Not as conquerors of Earth, but as collaborators with it. Not as isolated egos, but as a unified, conscious field of life, choosing a future on purpose. The stars are still watching, the universe is still waiting, and you are the axis on which tomorrow can turn. Choose well, choose now. The cosmos is listening.